This is My Quebec City, your city, your stories. Life in a new place can be lonely, but you'll make friends anywhere if you try. Newcomers bond over that experience, and if they're lucky, more. Mary, originally from Ontario, and Cara, originally from the US, found each other and will now take us on a kindred spiritual journey. So, ladies, what's your story?
My name is Mary Thaler. I'm from southwestern Ontario, and I moved to Quebec City in 2007.
Hi, I'm Cara. I was born in Michigan, so hockey fan from birth, then moved to North Carolina, then went to school in Washington, D.C. I've lived in LA, London, and now Quebec.
I had just finished university, and I was applying for graduate programs to do research. I wanted to be a scientist, and there was a scientist here in Quebec City I wanted to work with. I didn't think much about the fact that it was a French-speaking city or anything. I was just really focused on that, on the cool thing I was going to study, doing a degree at University Laval. And so I just came because I was young and bold, finished my degree, and by the time it was done, my home had become here, so I stayed. I was lucky because I was working immediately at a university where there were a lot of other international people. I came from a different part of Canada, but other people were coming from other countries. And so there was a strong will. All of us were newcomers. And for a while, my social life was my coworkers. But I've always volunteered in my community a lot. The town I grew up in, the town I went to undergrad in. And so I was looking for a place to be involved in my community here. I remember it took me a whole year to discover the Jeffrey Hale Community Center and coming in and filling out the volunteer form and just gushing. And that immediately became a kind of second pole of my social life.
I was working for a global company until about 6 months ago, and I started working there in London and then transferred to the United States in 2009 and immediately was like, no, I was right when I left here the first time. So I'd lived in London, England for 10 years, and we had a research and development department here in Quebec. So about a year and a half later, I managed to get transferred here to Quebec. I think when I applied for residency in Canada, I had moved 35 times since I was 18 when I had to put down all my addresses. And I've now lived here for 15 years. I transferred for work, but I had also started dating someone who was from Quebec. So he was younger than me, and then his friends were younger than him. And it was a lot of people that we worked with. He was somebody that I met at work. And so I didn't have a ton in common with these people. They were all plenty nice, but I was a nearly 40-year-old woman at that point. And so hanging out with like 26 or 30-year-old men was not, it just wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So I started trying to look for a way to make friends. And so I went online and I was like, I'm just going to find some meetup groups. There was one group, and it was a support group for people who had a specific venereal disease. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll start my own. So I started the expat group of Quebec, or Quebec expats or something like that. And it was filled with people who came here from other parts of Canada, from other countries, and also people who had lived in Quebec, had moved away and had come back and didn't feel like they belonged here anymore. So that was really interesting. There was somebody who started a running group called the Hash House Harriers. It's an international running group. It's a lot of fun. And we would meet, I think, every week, every other week. So some of my closest friends that I've met here are from that.
But not Mary. So how did she and Cara meet?
We both started doing community theater. I was finally wrapping up my degree program, and I was like, I have free time. And I'd always been fascinated by theater, and I'd never got to do it. So I went to a few auditions, was a chorus member on a few things, and I assume that you went through a similar journey.
Yeah, I think I was in theater when I was younger, and it was something I always really loved, and it was something I had intended to do as an adult. And one of my friends from work took me to see a Quebec art company play. Mm-hmm. And I had told her, I'd let her in on my secret that this was something I always wanted to do. And then the next time they had their audition, she was like, you're going. Like, she came to my desk on Friday afternoon and she was like, you are going to that audition on Sunday. And I was like, I don't wanna. And then I did. I got the lead role in that play. And then the next play that they were doing was one of my all-time favorite plays.
Yeah. So we had both been in different plays and somehow never met. And then we sat down beside each other on the bench at the audition, and it was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. And we're both huge fans of the movie version.
Or the play, actually. I read
the
the play when I was in junior high school. We had to read it for school, and I was like, this is amazing.
We were in the minority. Like, lots of people had shown up for that audition who'd never heard of it before. And so we were almost the only fans in that room, and finding each other, we just kind of gushed to each other about it.
Yeah, how much we loved it.
Yeah. And then we got called up on stage at the same time. And I think because we had this chemistry, this like mutual love of the play, that really turned up in our audition. And
we understood the scene. We knew what the scene was about. So it's a verbal tennis match, basically, where they're going back and forth. And, you know, she and I were doing it, and it was obvious that we both had chemistry with each other.
We both got the two lead roles in that play, and then we had to spend 4 weeks intensively memorizing lines together.
Wasn't it 3 months? Isn't it more like...
Maybe. That's a lot of time to spend together. There's a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Once you've spent that many hours with another person, if you're still speaking to each other at the end, you're friends.
Yeah. Well, we lived around the corner from each other.
That
so that
easy.
was... And then right after Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead was over, I actually moved 2 blocks closer to you. So.
That's how much she wanted to be near her.
The shenanigans you get up to with your good friends.
I have lots of memories of going to pick up antique furniture that you found online all over the province.
Yeah. We drove all over the province one day picking up all sorts of things in a giant truck. That was fun. I like going to see movies with Mary because she has the best giggle. And lots of things make her giggle. There's a very good sort of Venn diagram overlap of what we like to watch.
Science fiction.
Yeah, but we also like to watch kind of trashy things as well. So that's what usually makes Mary giggle.
We also did, with another good friend, a snow sculpture contest once.
Yes. Twice.
Speaking of like intense experiences that you come out very bonded on, you had 36 hours to make a snow sculpture.
Yeah, out of like an 8 or 10 foot tall cylinder of snow. We're not talking about like chipping away at something this big. It's something like as tall as this room.
And Cara and I don't have sculpture background at all.
Or upper body strength.
And there was a blizzard.
Yeah.
The things you go through with your friends bring you closer together.
And that is not always happy stuff.
The beginning of 2022, I had gone to Europe over Christmas. It was the first trip I took since COVID had started. And while I was gone, my cat fell ill to the point that they were like, we're sure she has cancer. We're going to have to put her to sleep. My cat sitter had taken her by taxi and left her there. And so I didn't want her to be alone. So I called a friend of mine and said, can you just go be with her? And so she was in the car driving when the vet called me back and said, she just ate like an entire can of food, so we're pretty sure it's not cancer. We don't know what it is, but you can send her to the hospital, to the animal hospital. And so another friend of mine with her 8-month-old baby went and picked her up, the cat, with an IV attached to her and put her in the car and took her. And this is when like you had to meet them at the door with the animal. This is the middle of winter. I am in Switzerland, on phone calls. And so, I had one friend that was cat sitting for them, another friend that was driving there to be with Mathilde. This is like one of the worst things that ever happened to me. And I had all of these people who were all like rushing in to help me, like without hesitation. It was such a terrible thing, but it really made me realize that I had bucked the trend of it being difficult to make friends as an adult. And I just really feel like I have a family here.
Cara's story reminded me of something another friend of mine said to me once. She's very active in organizing in her community. And she said to me, the reason I do it is the world is getting scarier and scarier. I don't have enough money to build a bomb shelter, so I'm making friends instead, because when things get tough, your friends are your safety net.
I think when I met your mom, it made me realize that you and I have become each other's family, because your mom came up to me and was like, oh, thank you for that time you did all that nice stuff for Mary. And I was like, okay. Like I think it made your mom feel more comfortable that we had each other here. And I know, it's kind of the same for my parents. They consider you part of the family as well.
So where should you go to find your Cara or Mary?
I joined a church, which for many people who attend churches, I do think that is also a place where you can go make friends who might not be the same age as you, who might not speak the same language as you. This is a city that is so rich in cultural activities and social events, and also there's a need for people's help to offer services and all of that. If there's something you need, or if there's something you have to give,
we're sitting in it.
Yeah.
Like, VEC is such an incredible resource. The Morin Center as well. And the meetup groups that I started many, many years ago have continued on with other owners. And now there's loads of meetup groups in town. So
You started a trend.
Yes, I am definitely
the city better.
I'm definitely a trendsetter. So